After Nikola Tesla's departure from this world, many mysterious aspects of his life began to surface. Some researchers believe that he uncovered the secret of death itself. His diaries revealed information that could fundamentally alter our understanding of the human being, the soul, and God. Tesla, known for his groundbreaking inventions that continue to shape the modern world, was ahead of his time in ways that go beyond technology. But few realize that his fame extended not only to his engineering genius, but also to his role as a profound and enigmatic philosopher. Despite his extraordinary intellect, Tesla remained deeply human, often contemplating profound subjects like the soul, immortality, divinity, and the technologies that could potentially revolutionize humanity. Today marks my 80th birthday, and a question has suddenly come to mind. What will remain after I'm gone? Will it be my works, my inventions, or perhaps even the many exaggerated stories spun about me during my lifetime? When I pass, there will surely be those who will attempt to tarnish my name, and I will no longer have the chance to defend myself. So while I'm still here, I feel the need to share my story, to ensure that those who come after me will know the true Nikola Tesla, the famous physicist wrote in his diary on his birthday. It was at that moment that Tesla decided to leave behind written reflections, documenting his life, character, and beliefs for future generations. In this personal journal, he also revealed his deep belief in the existence of God and shared his musings on what happens to a person after their earthly journey comes to an end. Tesla was born into the Tesla family in the Serbian village of Smiljan, near Gospic. His father, Milutin Tesla, was a priest in the Orthodox Church, while his mother, Georgina Mandic, was the daughter of a priest. On July 10, 1856, they welcomed their fourth child, a son, Nikola. One of the many legends surrounding Tesla's life tells of a violent thunderstorm that occurred at the time of his birth. The midwife, troubled by the storm, insisted that the newborn would be a child of darkness, as thunder was long considered an ominous omen in Serbia. But Tesla's mother replied, "No, he will be a child of light." As it turned out, Georgina was right. The thunder foreshadowed Nikola's future as a scientist who would bring light to the world. Tesla's intellect was remarkable. He was fluent in 8 languages: Serbian, German, English, French, Hungarian, Italian, Czech, and even Latin, and possessed an extraordinary memory and spatial thinking ability. Nikola was quick to grasp the art of learning, first excelling in elementary school and later at the gymnasium in the nearby town of Karlovac. His keen abilities in mathematics and mechanics were evident from an early age. In July 1873, Nikola received his matriculation certificate and was preparing to return home. However, a cholera epidemic broke out in Gospic. His father, Milutin, forbade him from returning, but despite the strict letter, Nikola could not resist the call of family. He went home and soon fell ill with the disease in its most severe form. Tesla later reflected on the experience, saying, "From my earliest years, I was destined for the path of the priesthood. This prospect hung over me like a dark cloud. Upon receiving my matriculation certificate, I found myself at a crossroads. Should I defy my father and disregard my mother's loving wishes, or should I submit to fate? This dilemma troubled me, and I looked at the future with dread. I held great respect for my parents, and so I was inclined toward spiritual studies. But then, a terrible cholera epidemic broke out, claiming 1/10 of the population. Despite my father's firm orders, I defied them and rushed home, only for the disease to strike me down. The illness was brutal, leading to dropsy, lung issues, and other complications. I spent 9 months bedridden, nearly motionless, until all my vitality was drained. The doctors had given up on me. It wasn't the physical suffering that hurt the most, but the deep, aching desire to live. During one of my most critical moments, when it seemed I was on the brink of death, my father entered my room to comfort me. With a pale, almost ghostly face, he whispered, "You'll be fine." I replied, "Perhaps I can recover if you allow me to study engineering." "You will attend the best school in Europe," he said solemnly, and in that moment I knew I had received his blessing. A heavy burden was lifted from my heart. But perhaps the consolation came too late, if not for the miraculous cure provided by an elderly woman and her healing concoction. There was no magic or mystery involved, just a simple remedy that worked wonders in every sense. That same year, Nikola enrolled in the higher technical school in Graz to study electrical engineering. This marked the beginning of his extraordinary career as an inventor. Tesla would go on to hold over 700 patents, some of which stand as monumental milestones in the history of modern electricity. I have an explanation for many things, but even now, I can't explain how my brain works, Tesla wrote on the opening pages of his diary. When I engage in scientific inquiry, I begin with thought, and only afterward do I experiment. As I think, ideas often come to me in an instant, fully formed, like a finished drawing in my mind. The first time such an epiphany occurred, he recalled, was at the age of 26 while walking through a park. As he strolled, an image of an alternating current motor appeared clearly in his mind. Without hesitation, Tesla decided to sketch the design on the sand of the park path, using a stick, as he had not yet developed the habit of carrying a notebook with him at that time. From that moment on, the scientist experienced a continuous stream of insights that would follow him throughout his life. In his notes, Tesla described how this ability allowed him to peer into the future, where he found answers to his most pressing questions. An excerpt from an interview Tesla gave to New York reporter Alex Smith in 1899 reveals his thoughts. "Do you know how I discovered the two inventions that made me famous at the age of 26? One summer evening in Budapest, I was watching the sunset. Thousands of lights shimmered and gleamed in countless shades. Suddenly, as if through a mist, I saw a rotating magnetic field and an asynchronous motor. I saw them in the sun. I simply transferred what I saw onto paper, and from there, I made it real. I don't need models, drawings, or experiments. When I have an idea, I build the device in my mind, changing its design, improving it, and turning it on. I don't care whether the device is being tested in my mind or in the workshop. The results are always the same. For 20 years, there hasn't been a single exception. I can mentally and see things that don't yet exist. Naturally, the nature of these insights intrigued me, and I tried to understand them, but I was always unsuccessful." In search of an explanation for these visions, Tesla turned to Professor Grenville Stanley Hall, a renowned psychologist and a pioneer in the study of religious psychology. As a child, Hall had been raised in a devout Christian household, and he continued to study the Bible throughout his life. He believed that the highest expression of free will was self-sacrifice for God, and that love emanated from the Supreme Being, God. Hall advocated for religion as a means of restoring an individual to their true place in the world, returning them to health and wholeness. Hall studied Tesla's abilities for a year, but could not offer an explanation from the standpoint of scientific psychology. He preferred to keep his own thoughts on the matter to himself, unable to clarify how or where Tesla's sudden insights originated. Nikola's fascination with the mysterious phenomenon never waned. He tirelessly sought an explanation, and eventually, the scientist arrived at the conclusion that some extraterrestrial civilization might be implanting ideas into his mind. One day, a new idea surfaced in Tesla's consciousness just as the red planet, Mars, appeared prominently in the sky. At the time, it was widely speculated in scientific circles that intelligent life could exist on Mars. In gratitude, Tesla even wrote a few articles, attributing his inspirations to the Martians. However, he later abandoned this theory of Martian intervention. Tesla's psychic energy was formidable, brimming with an almost palpable tension. He has the eyes of a seer and a clairvoyant, people would say of him. For several years, Tesla accurately predicted that World War I would last 4 years and end in December 1918, only being off by about 5 or 6 days. He also foresaw that the peace following the war would last 20 years, after which the possibility of a second world war loomed. Yet, what truly astonished his contemporaries was the staggering number of original ideas that Tesla produced with seemingly effortless ease. The most shocking revelation, however, came when Tesla made a startling confession: "I am not the author of these ideas." The true understanding of how my insights work came to me many years later, Nikola Tesla confessed. "One day, I woke up with the realization that all the ideas I had were sent to me by God. Before that moment, I had never believed in his existence, despite being raised in a priest's family." Tesla's father had hoped that his son would follow in his footsteps and become a man of the church. In his diary, the scientist recounts the day he first told his father that he did not believe in God. He feared that this admission would sever their bond. However, much to his surprise, it did not. In that moment, his father regarded him with the concern of a doctor observing a patient with a serious ailment. He explained that the journey to faith for every person begins with doubt. Tesla believed that he had been on this path of doubt for over 40 years. One day, while staying at a hotel, the idea of God's existence suddenly struck him. Without hesitation, he abandoned his work, rushed outside, and asked a taxi driver to take him to the nearest Orthodox church. Although he never became a priest in the Serbian Orthodox Church, as his father had hoped, he became a priest of the temple of science, light, and energy, a path that brought immense benefits to humanity. Tesla's diary entries were later published in the book I Can Explain a Lot. Later, I told Hall that I had understood everything. It was my duty as a scientist to explain to him how the problem had been solved. After all, who could understand better than a researcher the torment of an unsolved problem? It's like a splinter stuck in the brain, constantly bothering you. You try to focus on other things, but your thoughts always return to it. Hall smiled and told me he had reached the same conclusion while working with me, but kept his thoughts to himself. He knew I had often told him I didn't believe in God. Hall had a wise rule: he never told people things they were not ready to hear. If he had told me then that my insights came from God, I would not have believed him. I might have even called him a charlatan. In moments of frustration, I am quick with my words and sometimes reckless. In his diary, Nikola Tesla offered his explanation for why an unbelieving scientist like himself was chosen as the receiver of groundbreaking ideas. Tesla believed that science served not the patent holders or individual nations, but the collective good of humanity. Even before embracing faith, he saw his life's purpose as one of service to people. Though he lacked belief in his soul, he was unknowingly heading in the right direction, while God patiently provided proof of his existence along the way. "Everything I don't do for myself," Tesla wrote. "I am convinced that thanks to my inventions, people's lives will become easier, more prosperous, and more moral." This hope for the betterment of humanity was central to his vision. Tesla also shared his own understanding of God. For him, God was energy, eternal, primordial, and omnipresent. In his mind, this energy manifested as light. "In the beginning there was light. Its true face is darkness, invisible to us. The light illuminated the universe, from which celestial bodies, man, and all existence arose. Thus, the energy of light is much older than matter, which is merely an expression of countless forms of light. To say otherwise is akin to claiming that your father gave birth to you," Tesla explained. If all things are born from light, Tesla argued, then, after the end of physical existence, everything returns to light. Therefore, he believed that humans do not die, but instead transform into light, continuing their existence in its purest form. Those who came before us did not die, they became immortal light. This is not resurrection, but a return to the primary energy from which the soul originated. The particles of light restore their original state. By becoming light, we embark on a journey through the vast expanses of the universe. In this sense, it is immortality. At the end of his diary, Tesla acknowledged the frequent criticism of his ideas, stating, "The phrase 'Tesla is wrong' has become fashionable. In truth, many simply lack the knowledge and imagination to grasp my ideas. How many have called me a visionary, and how the short-sighted world has mocked my work. Time will judge us. Imagination is more real than life itself. My teachings have nourished me, and I have learned to control my emotions, dreams, and visions. I've always thrived on enthusiasm. My entire long life has been lived in a state of ecstasy. This has been the source of my happiness. Imagination is the wellspring of everything. It has allowed me to cope with a task that would have been enough for 5 lifetimes. I want to believe that future generations will understand me. This will happen once my earthly life has ended. I hope, after all, that there is no true end. Soon I'll find out for myself. I leave this world with the sense that I've left something meaningful behind for humanity, which means my life hasn't been in vain." Tesla's creative process leads us to think there might be a universal databank, what we now refer to as the energy information field of the universe. Tesla seemed to tap into this source, drawing the necessary knowledge from it. His vision was for everyone to have access to this infinite well of information. Much has been written about him, but Tesla remains an enigma, a mystery that is yet to be solved. A misunderstood genius, despite his direct and clear expression of his worldview. But this is the way with great personalities. Such individuals cannot be fully understood. Genius represents a level of consciousness that is beyond our grasp, a complexity we cannot fathom. Just as we can never fully understand God, we will never fully comprehend geniuses. We must accept this without resentment or envy. Do you believe, like the great inventor, that after death we return to our original form? Share your thoughts in the comments.